Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Chapter 46. These guys. It was pushed out suddenly, and Su Ming was also speechless for a while, but he didn't say anything. Although he doesn't like trouble, he's not afraid of trouble. It just so happens that this old man doesn't like it. If you say you all fight, what are you doing with me? After finishing the work, I was afraid that I would not trouble you, so I still pointed at me and said it again. Huh, what's the matter, boy, are you not convinced? Seeing Su Ming stand alone in front, the old man frowned, pointed at Su Ming and said, I'm not dissatisfied, I just want to give you something. Su Ming moved his joints, stretched out his hand and slapped it out. At the same time, there was a crisp sound from the old man's side. The two were separated by 7 or 8 meters, but this big fight was not wasted at all, and it was actually drawn on each other. Although Lao Shang's ability has reached the 3rd level, the cultivation of qi and blood was ignored at first glance. After being slapped by Su Ming, a practitioner who is about to break through the 3rd level, he took off directly on the spot, and his mouth full of teeth followed suit. Ah! The old man let out a scream, and by the time his companion realized it, he had already flown 2 meters away. Ropey, you bastard, you actually engaged in a sneak attack. Let's go together and teach him how to respect seniors. One went to check on the situation of the person being fanned away, while the other two used their supernatural powers to pounce on Su Ming, threatening to teach Su Ming a lesson. For enhanced abilities, don't blame me, just try my new idea. Seeing the changes in the bodies of the two, Su Ming looked strange for a while, and then began to construct a space channel in the space. This time, he didn't choose to use space to separate the two of them, so as not to let them get close. Because the combat methods of strengthening abilities are basically close combat, if they are not close to themselves, they will not attack, so his idea cannot be verified. Although the course that Shengguanzhang stayed in was difficult, Su Ming had racked his brains to think of many things in the past few days, and now is the time for experimentation. Without space to block them, the two old students quickly came to Su Ming's body, swinging their alienated body parts to attack. And at this moment, a tiny spatial vortex appeared on their attack trajectories, which happened to swallow their attack parts completely. At the same time, a space vortex also appeared behind the two, and the bodies of the two who had been swallowed by the vortex appeared from the vortex behind them. 2 blunt bangs sounded at the same time, and being attacked by their companions, the 2 old students both spit out a big mouthful of blood and fell unconscious on the spot. Good guy. As expected of a 3rd level enhanced ability, this strength is much stronger than that of Han Jun's 3rd level practitioner. I'm afraid it will be uncomfortable to suffer. Seeing this, Su Ming grinned and said, but he was very happy in his heart. Although it was just a small trial, there were still many details to be dealt with, but the situation just now proved that this kind of thinking has the opportunity to develop combat skills. Of grass mud horse. Dare to sneak attack me, I want to make you look good. Shocking. Luo Pio, who had been rewarded with a big bib by Su Ming before, woke up, and immediately became furious after understanding what happened just now, completely ignoring his companion's words, and stood up to attack Su Ming. With his bang, the surrounding ground trembled uncontrollably, and a rock in the air slowly grew in size as it rotated until it became the size of a millstone, and it fell directly towards the previous second. Shocking. That's it. You are joking. Hearing such a domineering name, but seeing that it was just a stone, Su Ming almost couldn't hold back, and raised his hand a few times with the space blade to break the stone into small pieces. Then, under the transmission of the space channel, a good one fell on the old man's head, causing him to be in a hurry and his scalp was broken. Then Su Ming moved directly in front of the old student, and he was unable to move under the space confinement. As a junior, I also tell you a truth, don't underestimate the freshmen, because you have nothing to be proud of except that you came out a year earlier than us. In a year, a pig can reach the 3rd level, isn't it? Also, you said before that I can only climb in front of you, why don't you, as a senior, teach us how to climb? The corner of Luopi's mouth twitched. Although he was very unwilling, the powerlessness that his body could not move made him understand that if the person in front of him wanted to kill him, it would only take a moment. What is this new student? What kind of monster has been recruited in this year's special enrollment? This kind of weird ability is not only mysterious, but also can cut his own boulder at will. I'm afraid it won't be beneficial to him if he is a sophomore special recruit. What are you doing? This is the gate of the school, not a ring competition arena. There are so many freshmen watching here. How decent are you? You want to fight and compete in the arena. The teachers from the school came very quickly, and Su-ming could only sigh to express his regret. The teachers all came, so naturally it was impossible to force the other party to crawl on the ground. Teacher, we didn't do anything, but this senior wanted to see the power of his combat skills. I also wanted to test the gap between myself and the seniors. I didn't control my strength well. Su-ming said with a harmless smile. The corner of the mouth of the person who had just witnessed everything twitched. You didn't control your strength well. It was clearly playing tricks on the other party. Senior, you are a freshman. You think he is like this? The teacher was stunned for a moment, looked at Su-ming, then at Luo Pai. The expression on his face immediately became exciting. The status of these two people, the identities of the new and old students should be swapped. Okay, I don't care about your affairs, but you have to clean up this place. Teacher, I'm born weak and can't do physical work. Before the teacher finished speaking, Su-ming quickly took out the school badge, called up the column of his body introduction, and placed it in front of the teacher. That's it. Then you go, let them do the cleaning. There is no way, the Alliance has regulations. As a teacher, he cannot let a student who is certified by the Alliance's infirm to do physical work. When Luo Pai heard this, he was completely dumbfounded. Thinking about the big beating he endured at the beginning, how could such strength be due to congenital weakness? A congenitally weak person can blow all the teeth out of my mouth. Did the Alliance get it wrong? Thanks. On the way Su-ming went back, Chen Zan hesitated for a moment and said something, but was ignored by Su-ming with a wave of his hand. He didn't want to help this guy. Although it made people feel that he was trying to stand up for the freshmen, his original intention was really not this. If the old students didn't take the initiative to jump on him, he wouldn't care about such things. Chapter 47. Brother Zan, is he also a freshman? Looking at the back of the three of Su-ming leaving, the two girls who caused the incident supported Chen Zan and asked curiously. Well, he's a special student just like me, but that guy is a monster. Chen Zan nodded, and said with a wry smile, which surprised the two girls around him. They are in the same high school as Chen Zan, and they are very clear about how confident Chen Zan is in himself. In high school, he was also the leader of the show. But who would have thought that such a proud child of heaven would actually call a person of the same age a monster after arriving at Shanghai University, which shows how powerful that person is just now. Don't think about it, you will know about that guy in the future. I'm new here, let me invite you to dinner. Chen Zan ended the topic about Su-ming. Although there was still blood on the corner of his mouth, when Luo Pai made a move, he didn't kill him completely. He vomited blood, but in fact it didn't have much effect. It's almost done after some adjustments. After all, he is a special admissions student. There is no way to practice, and the school will not make it easy for him. Boss Su, I haven't seen you for a few days, and your strength has grown. What happened just now? Why did the attacks of those two veterans fall on them? Fatty already noticed it just by making a simple shot. Su-ming, who had fought against special beasts before, although Su-ming's level has not improved now, his combat power has definitely become stronger. You also know that my abilities are related to space. Do you know the concept of wormholes? The principle is similar. This is a simplified version of a wormhole. I have built a space channel on their attack trajectory and location. Go through the passage and you will appear in their place. Su-ming explained. Looking at Fatty's appearance, he should understand, but Shunzi was a little confused. After all, there was a gap in IQ between the two. But Boss Su, you made those three old students so miserable today, you shouldn't have any trouble in the future. The freshmen beat up the old students, maybe those old students will not be convinced. Shunzi said with some concern that the grievances in the school are not big, but there are many, and such things happen from time to time. What are you afraid of? If they are shameless, just come to me. If you are not convinced, beat them to be convinced. I will not spoil them. Su-ming rolled his eyes and said, he doesn't have any pressure on this kind of thing, even if he can't win in the end, he won't lose face. They have been beaten up by old students, and they have to join forces to deal with this new student. If they are not shameless, what do they have to take care of? Back in the central villa area, before Su Ming opened the door, he saw Shang Guanzhong standing at the door, looking at him meaningfully. I said, Teacher Shangguan, why didn't you just go in and wait for me like last time? After going up to say hello, Su Ming said inwardly that although he owed him a big favor, it is unrealistic to ask him to be so polite to Shangguan. I watched the battle just now, it was not bad. After a few days of effort, the space teleportation was applied to the battle. In the future, you will be able to suffer from melee-type supernatural beings. Shang Guanzhong directly ignored Su Ming's strange words, but talked about the battle just now. Su Ming finally found out, this teacher Shangguan is really looking at him all the time. I hadn't left the dormitory for several days, and I ran into him as soon as I went out today. If it was a coincidence, I wouldn't believe it. Perhaps. There are still many shortcomings in this method. It takes a lot of thought to locate the entry and exit points of the passage. If there are too many people, it is impossible to get through, and the stability of the passage is a problem. If the strength of the two people just now is stronger, the channel can't bear it, so it's still a matter of the strength of the ability. Su Ming sighed. The investment of 2,000 evolution points was still too small to increase the space ability, but apart from evolution points, he couldn't think of any other way to make the space he controlled more stable and solid. I've also seen your problem. From my understanding, your abilities are strong enough. The problem is that you don't understand your own abilities enough. You can think about it carefully. Your abilities are all in the present. It is realized on the basis of space, and there are people who release energy in this space at ordinary times. Have you ever seen the energy they release can tear the space apart? But why does this space have so many limitations after you have mastered it? It will collapse at every turn, and it will be unstable if you are not careful, so I think this is not just a matter of the strength of the ability, but more of you. I don't understand space, and I can't fully grasp it. Shang Guanzhong said. It sounded like thunder on the ground in Su Ming's mind. Yes. The space is still this space, and my combat skills can't be used effectively. It's not that the strength of the space has become weaker, but that my control over the space has become insufficient. Take the space confinement as an example. The principle is to solidify the space, thereby restricting the activities of the creatures inside, so that the restrictive force and the resistance of the creatures are a conflict point. When the resistance exceeds the limiting force, the space confinement will naturally have no effect, but what is the source of the limiting force of the space? It comes from Su Ming's ability to control space. The stronger the control, the stronger the restriction, and the stronger the effect will be. I figured it out. My brain is spinning pretty fast. Are you thinking about how to deepen your understanding of space? Shang Guanzhong said with a smile on his lips. Who doesn't like to take a smart student with him? The kind that can be understood at a point. Mimicry practice. But Su Ming didn't let him pretend to be successful, and the words he blurted out almost choked Shang Guanzhong to death. Depend on. It's not a good thing if a student is too smart. I can't show off. That's right. The foundation of our Shanghai University is the most suitable for your ability with few references. Let's go. You got a spot during the special recruitment. I will take you to experience the mimicry practice. Shang Guanzhong said a little dissatisfied. He wanted to show off in front of Su Ming, but it didn't work out, so he was as upset as he wanted. Hearing this, Su Ming couldn't help but look forward to it. He had already had an idea about mimicry training, but he didn't have the nerve to bring it up. After all, the school also has its own arrangements. To Su Ming's surprise, the place for mimetic practice was actually under the training building, and if he was not mistaken, the surrounding space changed during the descent. Chapter 48. Seeing the change of expression on Su Ming's face, Shang Guanzhong couldn't help but smile. After all, the effect of mimicry training is too outstanding, so the school has done a lot of work on protection. I told you before that the 8th level ability user can feel the existence of space, and the 9th level can easily use it. Of course, even the throne can't control the space like you do, but after reaching the 8th level, it is still possible to use the space to accomplish some things. Into a subspace. It can be said that even a person with supernatural powers wants to practice mimicry. Such training resources are naturally targeted by many people. If special protection is not carried out, the University of Magic City may be flattened. Space. Teacher Shangguan, with all due respect, if you hadn't said it, I would have found it hard to believe that this was the work of 2 thrones and 8-9 level power users. It's too rough. Su Ming said a little speechlessly, and the space teleportation was activated instantly, directly bringing Sheng Guanzhong to appear on a platform. Damn it. You can actually penetrate the space wall directly. Sheng Guanzhong was taken aback by Su Ming's hand, looked at Su Ming with a face full of horror and said, "You must know that after the development of the mimic training device, no one has ever entered this subspace without the permission of the school, relying on the concealment and space walls of the subspace. But these are here for Su Ming. It seems that the wool has no effect. People come in as soon as they want to come in. As I said, this space is very rough. In terms of refinement, the dimensional space I randomly arranged is better than this, but the stability and carrying capacity of this space are a bit too much, and it can actually exist forever, which makes me it's a bit confusing." Su Ming touched his chin and said, at the same time, he was also carefully exploring this subspace, trying to figure out why it is so stable. Nonsense. Although you have spatial abilities, you are only at the 2nd level. This was arranged by the throne and the 9th level abilities. They are not as good as you in terms of space understanding, but your strength is also looked down upon by others. You have entered this space. What kind of treatment has been done? You may have to wait until you reach their level to understand. Sheng Guanzhong said angrily. He hoped that Su Ming could figure out the secret of the subspace, but it was unrealistic to think about it. Go, put your school badge in the groove, and just stand in the middle to let go. Don't blame me for not reminding you. If you keep resisting, you may waste this opportunity. Su Ming let go of his thoughts according to Sheng Guanzhong's words, and his mental power calmed down. It can be felt that there is also a wave of fluctuations on the device, which fits well with the spiritual power, and a very strange feeling arises. When Su Ming opened his eyes again, he found that he had no body, or the space he could see in front of his eyes had become his current body. Is mimicry training meant to let the supernatural being incarnate into the essence of his supernatural ability to feel? This is too realistic. Su Ming was a little shocked to think that just as he wanted to move his body, the scene in front of him changed instantly. I am now the space itself, so the movement I want is the change of the space, so if this is the case. Su Ming began to try to display his combat skills in this state, and it had to be said that it gave him a very different feeling, and immediately refreshed his original understanding of these combat skills. I hope you can gain something. I don't know how long this guy can last, although the longer the better, but don't delay the freshman contest. Sheng Guanzhong said with some struggle. If he missed this freshman competition, even with his current perspective, he would feel that Su Ming would be a pity. Sheng Guanzhong didn't expect that he would stay here for 3 days. It was not until 3 days later that the mimicry training device began to reduce power, which was a sign that the mimicry training was about to end. About half an hour later, Su Ming opened his eyes. Sheng Guanzhong just wanted to go up to ask about the situation, but found that he couldn't move at all suddenly. Although this only lasted for less than a second, he felt that the space around him was completely solidified just now, along with the supernatural energy, blood and many other flowing substances in his body. Can't do it. I'll go. Mr. Shengguan, you are too heavy. Just like this, there will be nothing left of my abilities. At this time, Su Ming's uncomfortable voice came, and his whole body became a lot more sluggish, and he could hardly feel the fluctuation of the supernatural power. Originally, Sheng Guanzhong was going to take care of this situation, but when he heard this guy coming out, he didn't really want to help this guy. An 8th level power user of Lao Su is locked by your space. What happened to your power consumption? Isn't this normal? You deserve it. You are not afraid of being consumed to death for actually doing something to me. Sheng Guanzhong grinned and said, it seems that Su Ming has gained a lot from the mimicry practice. The control of space can have an effect on oneself. Although the duration was very short and his powers had been exhausted, but he, a power user with less than the 3rd level, was able to do this step, which was already indescribably perverted. Don't just watch. Help me, I can't even stand up. Su Ming smiled wryly. He had a deeper understanding of space, that's why he wanted to try Sheng Guanzhong, who would have thought that it would really work. Although the realm has not improved, and the control over the ability has not changed, but this mimicry practice has brought Su Ming much more profound than these intuitive changes. Let you mess around, you will suffer a lot now. After you go back, don't worry about resting, and appreciate what the mimicry training has given you. The freshman competition will start in a week, and you are about to prepare for the battle. Sheng Guanzhong helped Su Ming up and said, and at the same time brought Su Ming the news he wanted to know most. Then, has the format of this freshman competition been announced? With so many people together, it shouldn't be a ring battle. Su Ming quickly asked. Fatty's intelligence gathering ability is not weak, but Sheng Guanzhong is an 8th level supernatural power user and a school teacher, so he must have a more comprehensive understanding than Fatty's. That's right. This year's freshman competition is held in the Lost World of Imperial University. There are only 2 stages, the knockout round and the final match. All students will randomly appear on the periphery of the Lost World. You need to enter the center through the circle of beasts according to the location registration. Each beast has points, and only the top 10 points can enter the final round, basically not enough, or those who can't reach the central area, all will be eliminated. Chapter 49. Lost in Another World. Hearing this unfamiliar term, Su Ming couldn't help being stunned for a moment, and cast his suspicious eyes on Sheng Guanzhong. The 4 famous schools each have their own heritage, among which Imperial University has the most special heritage. You also know that Imperial University is famous for having a complete training system, but have you ever thought about how this system came about? Sheng Guanzhong glanced at Su Ming and said. This made Su Ming question. It has been less than 10 years since the crack in the universe appeared, but the development of supernatural powers has been on the right track in a short period of time, which is obviously unreasonable. Moreover, only Imperial University has a complete training system, and none of the other 3 prestigious schools will claim to have a system that matches Imperial University, which is very telling. Since we have such a system, why not promote it in order to better develop abilities? Since we talked about the Lost World, let me give you some popular science. All our current supernatural achievements are established on a certain basis, just like the mimicry training device in front of you. You think it will be the work of the Research Institute. Except for the supernatural armor of Southern Metropolis University, the so-called foundations of the 3 prestigious schools, including our Modu University, are not developed and owned by ourselves, but come from the other side of the crack in the universe. Although we haven't been there yet, during the time when the crack appeared, besides the ancestor beast, there were other things in the crack, just like the prototype device of the mimicry training device, the Lost World of Imperial University, and the martial magic stone of Ancient Capital University. Among them, the lost alien world that fell in the Imperial Capital is the most special. Through the exploration of it, we developed the basic prototype of the ability, and then made new developments on this basis. At the same time, the Alliance also made an inference. The other part of the crack on one side, it is likely to be a world with civilization. The Lost World is an area of that world, but I don't know what happened. This area broke away from the hole and came to our side through the crack. The lost alien world has a relatively complete ecosystem, and the alien beasts in it are also different from the alien beasts you usually see. Although they are not the ancestor alien beasts, most of them are related to the ancestor alien beasts. Although in the process of exploration among them, the alien beasts in the Lost World have been cleaned, and the ones left are not particularly powerful ones, but for students like you, the danger is still great. Similarly, there are also many opportunities in it. Among other things, the concentration of alien molecules inside can be compared with the 1 or 2 years when the crack appeared. In addition, there are many relics inside, and there is no way to deal with some. The Alliance has nothing to do with the broken ruins, so you understand. Sheng Guanzhong explained the origin and basic situation of the Lost World based on the cracks in the universe. Although there was a lot of danger in it, when Su Ming heard it, his eyes immediately began to light up. Among other things, the freshman contest was held in the Lost World, and the standard of elimination was actually measured by killing alien beasts. This was like giving yourself a pillow. Then what? Mr. Shangguan, the ruins you mentioned, you won't be asked to hand them over if you find them. Suddenly, Su Ming thought of a very serious question. If the Lost World originated from a civilized world that developed supernatural powers, then there must be something related to supernatural powers in the ruins. But if this thing is created by myself, but the Alliance wants to take it away, no one will be happy. Don't worry, whoever finds the things in the ruins is the one who finds them. Unless it is something like mimicry cultivation, the Alliance will not intervene. Although this is the era of general science and supernatural powers, some things that happened in the Lost World, the Alliance also has to admit that some things depend on fate. The Alliance couldn't open the relic with all their efforts, but they opened it without any effort. This only shows that they have a relationship with the things in this relic. That's good, that's good. In this case, I feel like I'm going to get rich. Su Ming heaved a sigh of relief, his eyes glowed green, and Sheng Wanshang's heart was trembling. But soon he figured out what this kid was up to. Even the subspace that stores mimicry training can't stop this guy's abilities. Maybe the ruins in the Lost World. Ahem. This kind of thing is disgraceful, so do it in a more concealed way. In addition, in the Lost World, you not only have to face strange beasts, but also compete with your peers. Although a week is not long, it is not impossible to improve your strength. You have to carefully comprehend what you have obtained through mimicry cultivation. Sheng Guanzhong coughed twice and said that the increase in strength means the consumption of resources. If Su Ming has the ability to do that, of course he will fully support it. Although the Lost World belonged to the Imperial University, the four famous schools were already competing with each other. If Su Ming could wipe out the Lost World, the Modu University would not be too happy. How could they stop it? Leaving the training building. During the period of Su Ming's mimetic training, the registration of freshmen has ended. Although there are still active people on campus, everyone has behaved a lot. Boss Su, you've been in the training building these days. You're trying too hard. Before taking 2 steps, Fatty's voice came. When he turned his head, he saw Fatty and Shunzi walking together shoulder to shoulder. When they met people, the other party greeted them very politely. It's you. By the way, this is. It was a good feeling to meet acquaintances right after leaving customs, but he was a little confused by the attitude of other people towards Fatty and the two. Hey, this is your blessing, Boss Su. That day you beat 3 old students at the school gate, and you have become an idol among our freshmen. They know that we have a good relationship with you, Boss Su, so they naturally treat you. We respect that. The fat man said with a smile on his face, and then asked. By the way, Boss Su, what have you been doing these days? You didn't come to choose the department. Damn, almost forgot about the department. Su Ming suddenly remembered that he hadn't chosen his development direction yet. In other words, he didn't even know which classroom to enter. But for my own spatial ability, which department is better to choose? For the assault system, it seems to be possible, the destructiveness of space is there. It's not impossible for the control system. If you want to control alone, you can control it alone, and if you want group control, you can control it in a large group. Defense seems to work too. Most people can't touch themselves. As for the auxiliary system, it seems that I can develop it myself, and nothing else. There is no problem at all in protecting teammates. Thinking about it this way, Su Ming realized that he is simply a universal essential oil, and he can choose to develop in any department. Chapter 50. Chapter 50. Let the applause resound through the lost world. Ask for flowers. After much deliberation, Su Ming finally chose to report to the control department for no other reason than the control department has a more comprehensive development direction than other departments, which is more in line with Su Ming's pursuit of his own goals. It may be that the new freshman competition has brought a lot of pressure to the freshmen. The training building is overcrowded all day long, and they all want to become stronger and gain more benefits in the lost world. For the vast majority of students, the top 10 rewards in the competition are not for them, but the loss of the alien world itself is a good opportunity, not to mention the ruins inside, which are full of alien elements, which is not ordinary place can be compared. You know, the current thrones in the major alliances can be said to be stained with the strong light of aliens when the cracks appeared, otherwise their promotion speed would not be so fast. In less than 10 years, more than 30 thrones have appeared in the world, which is obviously impossible with the current concentration of aliens. Being able to enter a place like the Lost World is a great opportunity in itself. Su Ming is no exception. The training building cannot be entered, and training can also be conducted in his villa. In terms of ability control, he can already control 6 small balls to pass within 1 minute, and he still has a lot of energy left. He can also pass the level by controlling 7 balls, but the time will be a little longer. This is the most intuitive effect of mimicry training. Before the mimicry training, 5 small balls were barely enough, but it can be seen that it can reach the level of 7 small balls in just 3 days. In addition to supernatural powers, Su Ming is also starting to practice sword skills. Pokong's attributes are too special for ordinary people to use. Every time you slash, Pokong will reduce the space between the blade and the target to achieve unparalleled attack speed. But the shortening of the distance means that the charging time is shortened. The reason why many people can't use the piercing is that they can't control the power of the blade to maximize the power when slashing. Even Su Ming could use this A-level saber normally only after half an hour of getting used to it, but he didn't know how to use the saber himself, so he couldn't bring out the maximum effect of the saber. Way. At the same time, he is also working hard to break through to the 3rd level. For qi and blood cultivation, Yang Mei provided medicine. With Su Ming's physical strength, the breakthrough is a matter of time. It depends on when he does it. The power stone promised by the school has also been delivered. With the effect of the meditation room, the power breakthrough is also in the past few days. It is no problem to reach the 3rd level before the start of the competition. It's not that he is obsessed with the improvement of the realm, but that if he doesn't reach the 3rd level, he can't even rank in the top 10 among the 4 famous schools, just looking at the supernatural realm. Su Ming always thought that his cultivation speed was already very fast, but a piece of information sent to him by the fat man made him understand that he was not the only so-called genius. Let's not talk about the other 3 schools. Let's take Modu University as an example. Wang Can, an A-level lightning-type superpower, after receiving the training from his instructor, not only broke through the 2nd level of Kung Fu in a few days, but also reached the 2nd level. Advanced, ready to hit the 3rd level at any time. What was even more frightening was Shui Wei. It was said that her instructor took her away from school for a week, and when she came back, she had broken through to the 3rd level. It sounds unbelievable, but Su Ming, who is close to the research institute, knows that this is achievable. Because the promotion of the ability in the early stage is only the assimilation of alien elements into Mura, theoretically before the 6th level, as long as there are enough alien elements, and there are corresponding data tests, and the strength of the promoted person is sufficient, it can, under the premise of not affecting the purity of the ability, it can be improved quickly. Both Wang Can and Shui Wei's supernatural powers are A-level, and Lei and Bing also have a wealth of research materials. It is no problem for them to increase their speed to such a level. Moreover, the 4 famous schools jointly held the freshman competition, which seemed to be a competition among students, but it was not a battle of face between schools. Under such circumstances, it is not surprising that the school is willing to spend blood to train them. But for Su Ming, the spatial ability appeared for the first time, and naturally there was no way for him to use that method to improve. On the one hand, there was no data to protect him, and on the other hand, it was difficult to find an environment that matched the spatial attributes. After all, this method is counterproductive. In order not to affect the potential of the supernatural being and the purity of the supernatural power, it is necessary to ensure that the assimilated foreign elements have the same characteristics as the supernatural power. Otherwise, if you absorb so many alien molecules at once, the purity of the ability will definitely be affected. Boss Su, this is the B-level weapon I specially prepared for you, ice and fire gloves. The day before leaving for the imperial capital, the fat man came to Su Ming's villa with a metal box in his arms. Opening the box, a pair of exquisite gloves appeared in front of Su Ming. Although they were a pair, they felt completely different. One was full of heat and bursting, while the other was as cool as ice. These gloves are woven from the hair of the golden silk beast and the spider silk of the evil-eyed spider. They are respectively inlaid with the crystal nuclei of the 7th level extreme ice beast and the 7th level volcanic war beast, with explosive and frost attributes. Boss Su, you like to give people big competitions so much. After wearing these gloves, the power will definitely be different. The fat man said cheaply that a weapon set usually has 5 parts, namely armor, arm guards, leg guards, boots and a helmet. Some arm guards have gloves on them, but generally they have no special effects and or decorations. Since Su Ming didn't need a sword and had a complete set of weapons, the fat man thought about giving Su Ming a weapon that could be used alone without disturbing the set, and finally chose these gloves. Fatty, I found that you are honest, but your heart is pure at all. Su Ming said with a strange face, but he has to admit that he has a little bit of a habit of slapping people, mainly because he thinks it is very enjoyable. Boss Sue, you can't slander me. I've always been a pure and good person, okay. But this time the freshman competition is where people from the 4 schools are all together. Those guys must be disobedient. I'm not thinking about it. Boss Sue, save face for our Shanghai University. Since you want to slap them in the face, then you should slap them thoroughly and make them remember it deeply. The fat man said with an aggrieved face, but Suming is also very satisfied with this weapon. He decided that for this freshman contest, he would let the applause resound throughout the lost world. Having nothing to say all night, waking up early in the morning, all the new students are ready to go, and set off towards the imperial capital in a mighty way. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.